Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first official episode of my new series from my YouTube channel called Talking Rush with me, Kendrick, the Jiu-Jitsu bassist. I say this is the first official because I conceptualized this series a few weeks ago and I haven't really gotten a chance to do it until now to shoot the video. But I realized that I did a Rush episode a few weeks or a few months ago where I took my favorite song from each album and made them into a playlist and talked about it and posted it on my YouTube channel. So that's but the name Talking Rush wasn't coined. I didn't coin it yet. There's no name, so it won't have any title screens that say Talking Rush. But technically, it's like the pilot episode. So this is like episode 1. That would be episode 0. But now we've done that piece of background, let's now go on to this episode, where today we're going to be talking about Rush's 1989 album, Presto. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, shouldn't I be talking about the first album? Shouldn't I be talking about Rush? Well, no. See, because this is my series, and I'll do whatever the heck I want. And I decided I wanted to talk about Presto because I've been listening to it listening to the whole album on a loop during the time that I was thinking about doing this video. Also, I was reading the book, the Limelight book from Martin Popoff, and I was on that chapter about Presto. And it's a weird place to start because by all the accounts, the guys didn't particularly enjoy or didn't particularly like the album, but they didn't find it to be their best work. But I seem to like it a lot, and since I'm making these videos, I decided that I'm going to start with it. A little bit of story time about this album and why it has a significant significance to my life is that it's one of the first albums of Rush that I listened to. My first introduction to Rush was as a kid in the Philippines. You know, they don't get a lot of airplay here. But the first song of Rush that I've ever heard was Dreamline. I don't remember what year it was, but the big rock station in the Philippines, NU107, moment of silence for NU107. It's been off the air for like over a decade now. Used to have this show on Sunday at lunchtime. It's like a 30-minute show called Number One Hits, where there would be like a voiceover talking about specific groups and specific number one songs, and then they would play the song. And they played Dreamline. I guess it's because it was, at the time, was probably one of their more recent works. And so my older brother and I started listening to Rush. He bought the Roll the Bones record on cassette, and because that's what we listened to at the time. And the next album he bought was Moving Pictures, which is still to this day one of my favorite albums of all time. And then the third one was Presto, which I played back to front. I played the whole thing, and I kind of wore out the cassette probably. And so that's the significance of it in my life. And I don't think that my older brother further pursued his interest in the band past those 3 albums, but I did, and I have all of the records. I have almost all of the live concerts, and I pretty much consumed everything Rush related. And now I'm doing a series on my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be talking about Presto. Whether you like it or not, we're going to be talking about Presto. We're going to do it track for track. But we'll try to keep it short so that this video is digestible. So we start off with the first track, Show Don't Tell. I have a cheat sheet over there. It's on my computer. Actually, Spotify's open over there. I'm not playing any of the music because copyright clips. I'm not even getting monetized for this. But okay, so the first track is Show Don't Tell. I find that being 1989 and the last year of the 80s, although some people actually consider 1990 as still kind of part of the 80s, that Presto is a transitional album. Because you know how, like, during the beginning of their life as a band, Rush was a hard rocking band that turned into like a rocking progressive band, and then in the 80s they turned into like a synth rock band. Like, it's still rock, but it's more synthesizer. It was like something that was like indicative of the time period that it was created. The 80s. I think that this album Presto, is sort of transitioning from kind of moving away from the 80s synth stuff to what would be Roll the Bones and Counterparts and Test for Echo up until their last album. It's more guitar driven. It's more of a power trio kind of song, kind of music, and it's more hard rock than it is like synth pop or whatever. So we start with the first track, Show Don't Tell. Maybe I should not tell, I should just show. But again, copyrights. I'm not even getting monetized for this thing. So the one thing I really liked about Show Don't Tell is that it has a nice sort of, I call it a bass solo. It has a bass solo break, and the line that Geddy plays is just so nice. It grooves so well, and it just. I think that when I first heard it, I wasn't really a musician, and I was sort of thinking I wanted to be a bass player. But when I heard this song, I was like, I definitely wanted to play bass like that. And that's that part in Show Don't Tell that I like. Before, when I didn't know what to expect, they started with the percussion, but the sort of a percussion thing, and it's very soft, and all of a sudden, the intro hits you hard. As a person that gets startled very easily, that was startling. I just wanted to say that. But yeah, but now I know what's coming. It's kind of cool, The next track is Chain Lightning. Let's play a little bit of it. I don't think I can play more than that anyway. There was towards the end of it, I think that there was towards the end of the song, I like the drum parts of Neil, where he does the Neil Peart crash, the Neil Peart ride move. It's kind of cool. This part, it's like the off time hits of the ride. This is a signature Neil move. Plus, if you notice that the bass line is actually really good as well on this. Next track is The Pass. What can't be said? What can't you not say about that song? There's a reason why, of all of the songs in this album, The Pass is part of the retrospective set lists for their concerts in the 2000s. And I'm trying to remember whether there are any of these other songs that were in the set lists for their concerts, starting from Rush in Rio. And I remember that The Pass was like within the first few songs of their set in Rio, for example. It was there. It has a good bass power chord intro, which is pretty much the whole song. Um, if you listen to the words are also quite makes you think a lot. Um, Actually, the lyrical stuff for this, the lyrics in the songs for the songs in the album are really well written. We'll get into some of them a little bit later as well. Um, so war paint, boys and girls together. Let's paint the mirror black. That's all. I love how much the drums of war paint is so is also like really forceful and really strong. It feels like there's a call to action to it, you know. So you know, I think it's great. The next track is Scars. So here's the thing. I'm a bass player. I'm not a good singer, and I know that even Geddy Lee would have a hard time playing bass and singing this song at the same time because you're jumping from fret to fret on this stuff on this thing. So one time I was just looking out to see if there was any clip I could find of a live performance of the song Scars. I actually really like the song. It's very bass driven, and plus Neil's use of electric drums, which he incorporates into his later in the 2000s solos in the electric drum part when the drums rotate so that the electric drums are in front. He uses the line from the drum groove from Scars as part of his as a second part of his drum solos. I love that. That's really good. It's like it's like percussions, you know, but and it's electric drums. And sometimes I wonder if how Geddy can play bass on this and sing it. Then I found on YouTube that there was a live performance of it, and I was shocked to find out that Geddy was even playing bass on this. He was on the keyboards, which I guess is easier to play. Is it easier for the people who play keyboards who are watching this? Please confirm if the bass line for Scars would be easier to play on a keyboard than on a bass, and if it would be easier to sing along, to sing as well, to sing and play the keyboard bass parts. You know, because I know playing it on bass would be very difficult because there's going to be like kind of a stretch or a movement. I mean, I know Geddy could probably do it, but I don't. Then again, I don't think he's really human. Next track here is Presto. Also my favorite Nike shoe from the early 2000s. I have their reissue, very light. If I could wave my magic wand, I would probably get me another pair of Prestos. Also, it's an ice cream brand in the Philippines, or it was. Presto. The title track. Another favorite of mine is next, Superconductor. It's a nice sort of. Basically, everything on the album is like very rock, and you know, I think that they were during the '80s. Rush was like sort of moving towards synth pop territory, and we all the Rush fans know that Alex wasn't really into the whole going into the synths thing, and you know, and sort of, you know, sort of leaning on the synthesizer stuff. So I think this is like sort of Alex's comeback in a big way, where he plays a very big role in the musicality of the songs on the record. Superconductor for me I think is a very nice up tempo rock song. But it's a rock song that isn't reminiscent of anything that they've done in the past. It's more of, you know, the rock music of that time, which is 1989 and about to move on towards the 90s, where, you know, it's sort of no nonsense, and you know, it's like sort of straightforward, no nonsense kind of rock music. Sounding more like, actually I think it's the beginning. This is where Rush started to sound a little bit more alternative rock to me, even though, you know, they're clearly still prog, but with a sort of alternative rock feel. The next track is Anagram. This is the song that I chose on my one per album playlist. This is when I'm talking about a lot of the lyrics for the songs in the album were really well written and very clever. Again, like I said in the previous thing where I was talking about this song, was that I didn't really notice that because I'm really, oblivious to stuff like that. But my bandmate Paul, my bandmate and friend Paul, said, "Hey, here's a look at the lyrics for this song and tell me what you notice." And then I didn't notice it immediately, but I had to read it again. And the whole thing, the anagram thing, was like, huh, that's really clever. Like every line is an anagram, and that overall the whole song doesn't really have a story to it. It's just every line has an anagram. That's really clever. I would like to see somebody try. I'd like to see somebody try to write lyrics like that, to be honest. Red tide, and the red tide washes the shore, or something like that. When this came out, or when I was listening to this, the term red tide meant something to me, because there was a news item at that time where there was like a fishing area there's a fishing province that I think their entire livelihood was, it's like a fishing community where their entire livelihood was jeopardized by the fact that there was like a red tide warning, because the water was highly polluted. Therefore, the fish they catch might not be that clean or might not be that safe to eat. So that's why I remember red tide. The next and almost the second to the last track on the album is Hand Over Fist, which I knew immediately was about rock, paper, scissors. I was like saying, how could you have... I can't believe that Rush wrote a song about rock, paper, scissors. Again, it's all clever. Very clever. Clever. So the last track in the album is Available Light. It is a great way to sort of ramp down the whole album. And it's a very slow song, but being Rush, it doesn't stay slow for a long time, but it's still kind of like a nice ending. Actually, overall, everything in the album sounds fantastic, and and I was surprised that Rush didn't think too highly of this record. I mean, maybe to them it wasn't their best work, but for me, I think it was quite exhilarating. The lyric writing is to be lauded. If I were to give a grade to this album, which I'm not gonna, because I'm just here to talk about the album. I'm not here to grade it or critique it, but it's one of my favorite ones. And yeah, so this is an 18-minute video, so I could have sworn I had a lot to say about it, but I do have, Anyway, I don't actually. Well, that's all I had to say about it. I should have done more research, to be honest. Maybe I could do a part 2. But for now, I think it's long. Video's been long. Still have to edit it. I kind of just want to post it. So I'll see you guys next time in the next Talking Rush. I will upload another video soon. Bye.